folks, this is Rick, and this is your seat at the table. This is Heir to the Empire Sourcebook, Star Wars The New Republic. Back when the original novel series came out, written by Timothy Zahn, I looked at that and I read it and I really, really got into it. And I thought this series would be the logical next movie trilogy. The Thrawn story, the Thrawn interaction with Empire. And of course, it never played out that way, right? They did come out, like I said, the novels were a hit. There was a series of comic books, which I never got to see. They came out with, West End Games came out with the novels. And this is toward the end. This is getting toward the end of the West End Games franchise with Star Wars. By the way, it wasn't shortly after these three books were put out that came to an end. Oh yeah, and I bought that for $20. That was a $20 book, and it came out. What year is it? Let's see, 1992. Right. So when this series came out, I thought, oh my God, this was the most logical next step for a movie franchise. And of course, Lucasfilm, they never did anything with it. There was a lot has come out of this series, the novel series, since then. There's been tie-ins. Thrawn has become a very popular figure with the fan base, and he showed up in the animated series, and he showed up in other novels, and there's been other books that related to or the aftermath of the Thrawn era. So when I look at these, and I really enjoyed them. I read them a lot, and I went through them numerous times. For the most part, these follow the novels almost verbatim. So if you read the novels, these source books just enhance them, but not so much that they really add a huge amount. They just add detail to the stuff that's in the books, but the books themselves are pretty straightforward. So we get the prologue between the era between the Jedi and Heir to the Empire, what's going on, Declaration of the New Republic, Chapter 1, Information, the New Republic, you know, Rebels to Respectable, Provincial Council, stuff that we get very, very little touch on in the comics and even less so, I guess, in some of the video games of the era, and in the Clone Wars, the animated, not Clone Wars, but yeah, I think it's Tron was in the Clone Wars, Age of Rebels. I haven't seen a whole lot of their stuff because it's an access thing. The Inner Council, Mon Mothma's stats, Admiral Akbar and his stats, Leia Organa Solo and her stats at the age, Han Solo, of course, Leia learning to be a Jedi or trying to. Bosk Freya, it's a heck of a character, that guy, and he's in a number of books too. You really have to read, well, you don't have to, I don't say, but the novels that were put out that are all now legend and all that just made me furious. That was the first nail in the coffin for me and Disney. My lifetime love of Star Wars, to have these people who really did not live, breathe, and shit Star Wars like a lot of us did, and come in and to decide with a wave of the hand, none of this existed. Then the audacity later to go, oh, it's just, we don't have a whole bunch of stories to work from, and on and on and on. You just want to, you know what I mean. You really, if you don't, then you don't, and you're good with it, then that's fine. Wedge Antilles, just so, and I've said it before, that last movie that they put out for the last for the Rey trilogy, I have yet to see it. That's literally an unheard thing in my life. So unless it shows up on a free cable channel in the near future, and I'm halfway drunk and have nothing absolutely better to do, then maybe I'll watch it, because I'm absolutely appalled. I mean, Rogue Squadron was awesome. I liked Solo. A lot of people give it crap, but I like Solo. I thought it was fun and entertaining and in the spirit of Star Wars, and right up what a young Solo would look like or act like. And I read the trilogy for his life story, and the quote legend. They did a good job, I think, of trying to fix in some of that stuff. You know, obviously they have their own unique takes and stuff anyway. Rogue Squadron, whole series of novels on them that are pretty good. R2D2, C3PO and their stats, some new NPCs, Paige and Lieutenant Paige and others who came out of the novels. Chapter 2, The Force, a little more information on the backstory for the Jedi Knights and the dark side, and Luke Skywalker and his stats and teachers of the light. And is it George Korvath, the original and the clone, and that Thrawn finds and digs up masters of darkness and manipulates new powers for the Force to be used in the games, of course, and or updated versions of existing powers. Remnants of the Empire, a bit more information on what's happened after the fall of the death of the Emperor and the slow slide of the Empire, and how Thrawn comes and almost revitalizes this thing. Stormtroopers. Grand Admiral Thrawn's Armada. The Naga Ruka, the Kahare Imperial Death Commando Yahoo bodyguard, which was an interesting concept. I mean, it really, it was viable in my mind. The Fringe, Galactic Cracks, Lando Calrissian and his stats and what's been going on with him since then. Talon Karad, which is an awesome character. It's in a number of different novels and tie-ins with other novels. And once again, a character that would be awesomely seen in an actual Star Wars franchise today. Mara Jade, oh my God, that was another character that everybody was just foaming at the mouth. The idea of Mara Jade and her history and her history with Luke Skywalker and the future. So when they came out with what they did and turned out that Ben Solo was Han and Leia's son instead of Jason, I was just beside myself. I struggled with it. I said, okay, I will divorce myself with what's considered legend and try to accept Disney's view of things. And I was just furious. And when I looked at Ben Solo, the character, he doesn't even remotely look like Leia or Han, or any combination of. There's actually more in tune with Luke than he is with Leia and Han. Once again, he should have been the son of Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker, and in their version of his tragic life would have been even much more better if that was played out. But for some anal reason, they just couldn't bring themselves to bring this character to life. It is what it is. I'm going to try to avoid ranting and raving about it. Kron's organization, some of his flunkies, populating the Fringe, Planet 5, additional planets, the Outer Rim, the Core, Wild Space, Borderland regions, various planets that were in the novel, and how they fit into things. Imperial City, Coruscant, Dagobah, Kashyyyk, Occur, the Breast Sky System, Sluice Van, Shipyards, Orbital Docks. Chapter 6, Aliens, additional aliens for the canon, or now legend canon, right? More detailed information on some of the existing ones, like the Wookiees. Equipment. A lived-in galaxy. This is also one of those things that set Star Wars apart from other science fiction franchises, especially when it comes to if I'm comparing Star Trek, apples and oranges, we call Star Trek and Star Wars together. They are literally two separate things, even if they are future and sci-fi. Star Wars represented a unique look as far as science fiction was concerned. Up until that time, science fiction movies presented high technology in a sterile, pristine light. Things from starships to weapons to locations had a brand new, never before used look and feel to them. Future as presented on film was immaculately scrubbed and permanently pressed. There was no dirt, no scratches, no wrinkles. Star Wars changed all that forever. Star Wars, the galaxy far, far away. High technology is a way of life. Items of a fantastic purpose, at least by Earth standards, are so commonplace to be taken for granted. Most pieces of equipment have a battered, well-used look to them. The civilization had its high-tech wonders for so long that they show the signs of heavy wear and tear. Ships are patched and repaired over and over. Equipment is jury-rigged, taped, temperamental. Things are built to last, and people use them long past the life of their manufacturer's warranties. Why throw away a perfectly good bastard just because the sight pulls a little to the left and the power cell cover doesn't have it popping open? If it still works, use it, right? So there was definitely that lived-in look. This is one of those reasons I've said that before. When DS9 came along, Deep Space Nine came along, and we saw the more realistic, grittier view of life in and or on the outskirts of the Federation, where everything is not the flagship of the Federation, not brand new and shiny and perfect. Everything is full of flaws and dirt and issues and problems and listen to Brian, Chief O'Brien constantly grousing about the Cardassian technology and the condition of the station, and having to figure out a way to bring Starfleet technology into play, and how Quark and the people enact out of the spar and the life of the world it gave much more depth and meaning to Star Trek as a universe in my personal eyes. So we got blasters, cloaking shields, comm links, data pads, glow rods, lightsabers, you know, micro binoculars. Oh, and we'll go back to slightly on another thing. This is a topic that comes up in other Star Wars related fan sites and blogs and video diaries and so on and so forth. There's often this wonder why does Star Wars technology seem to be stagnated? Why the development path and tree that's there doesn't see constant advances and improvements? We do see some. And we see the evolution, and we see the introduction of the B wing and the A wing as evolution. But for the most part, the majority of the true breakthrough technology doesn't exist. And in part, in my opinion, is because they've reached those plateaus thousands and thousands of years before. And so improvements are in micros, just tiny adjustments and just little improvements over capability and speed and design. But the actual concept is there. We figured out fast and light. We don't even totally 100% understand how the hyperdrive system works. We know it works, and some of those engines are old and they're cranky and they still work no matter what. They just keep them running, and the mechanics and the science behind it was long in the past, and trying to break through and find yet some new version of the trans hyperdrive or something like that. There's no value in it for the people. Not when they're in a life and death struggle, just survival or this never-ending series of conflicts that have been occurring for the better part of 2 lifetimes, from between the Clone Wars and the Empire era, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't want, as the consumers, as the people who immerse ourselves in the Star Wars universe, we are content with the fact that there is no really science. There is no high science technology trying to be developed because there's no need for it. They've reached a point, and to go further would be to evolve into something that humans are not yet. And that would be more unkind to Star Trek mindset than Star Wars. Just my opinion. Med packs, other introductions of a few new things, Wookiee bowcasters, vehicles, air speeders, mole miners, chariots, speeder bikes, combat starships, Corellian corvettes, escort frigates, interdictor class cruisers. I'll tell you right now, I've always looked at the frigate, this escort frigate, the medical frigate specifically, because that's the one that was most commonly viewed in the Star Wars movies, and thought, Jesus, what did they do to it? It looks like it's missing a lot of stuff. There's a fellow on the internet who rendered his version of what an Imperial Nebulon B looks like, what it ought to look like when it came out of the shipyard, and you can see where all these cutaway panel pieces look like to me that they, for maintenance and other reasons, they've stripped a whole lot of stuff off. And this really thin spine, as for any kind of ship for combat, is asinine. in anybody's idea. So he went in and filled in the blanks, so to speak, and he envisioned what this ought to look like in his mind, and I agree with it. If I ever think about posting that link to that guy's video, I think I will do that. That is well worth seeing, right? Because you only have to go and look at the assault frigate to understand that this came out of stripping this down and reworking it in extreme manners to make this much less heavy on dependent on people, a crew, and making it more potent for combat in a more modern age, because this is from an older generation. This is almost pre-Clone Wars generation, or into the early Clone Wars. So the fact that this looks like this ends up looking like this makes perfectly good sense. So to me, that argument would say that this looked like something else at some point in the past. Mon-Cal cruisers, Millennium Falcon, bulk freighters, Lambda-class shuttles, starfighter recognition guide, utility vehicles, blast boat. So the next one will be Dark Force Rising, and we will review this one, and then the third one in the series too. So this was Rick, and I hope you have a great weekend. Till next time, game on.